Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2nd, verse 61st. 61 is the verse number. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asit matparaha vashehi yasya indriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. That line, that phrase comes back again. Tasya pragya pratishtita. Whose wisdom is established, stable, balanced. Whose wisdom? One who has restrained one's senses completely. Tani sarvani sanyamya. Sanyam means restraint. Sanyamya, having restrained. Sarvani, all. Tani, those all. Yukta asit mat paraha. Mat, me. So Krishna is referring to himself, that one who has focused his mind on Krishna, on Yogeshwar, the ultimate reality, transcendental reality, not just Krishna, but transcendental reality. If your focus is on transcendental reality, the ultimate truth, yukta, your yoga, you are united, enjoined, right? Your yoga has the same root of yuj, yukta has the same root. So it means joining, yoking your intellect on the ultimate reality. Yukta asit mat paraha, on me. Vashehi yasya indriyani. Vash means to control whose senses. Yasya indriyani. Yasya genitive singular. Whose indriyani senses. Vash is to control. Vash gives us the Persian term bas mein karna. Many Persian terms have roots in Sanskrit, not Arabic but Persian. Persian in turn entered Urdu, and Urdu and Hindi overlap in many ways. So many Hindi terms also come from Sanskrit, many Hindi terms come from Urdu. Urdu in turn comes from Persian. Persian has many words that have Sanskrit origin, because ancient Persian and ancient Sanskrit were in the same family. Maybe they influence each other. Maybe Sanskrit gave a lot of words to Persian. That is why we see vash mein karna or bas mein karna, they are synonymous. Bas mein karna comes from Persian and Urdu. So, vashehi yasya indriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. So, to complete 61st verse, restraining all these senses, disciplined he or she should sit, intent on me. He whose senses are controlled, his wisdom stands firm. Tasya pragya pratishtita. 62nd verse now. My favorite. Again comes from that musical album I keep referring to, beautifully sung by Ravindra Sathe, music by Vanraj Bhatia, published by Music Today, more than 2 decades back. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodhaha abhijayate. Extremely logical, rational statement, one of the most rational statement. Similar statements are found in Buddhism and Jainism, and here in the Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism also. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha. For somebody who dwells on the objects of senses. Dhyayato, dhyan karna. If your focus, if your thoughts are on object of senses, vishayan punsaha, purush, that is person, vishayan, that is objects of senses. So if your focus is on objects of senses, different kinds of pleasures, for example, then what happens? You cannot ever control or attain all kinds of objects of senses. You cannot have all the wealth or all the pleasures in the world. Some pleasures will be left out. So Krishna is critiquing that observation. He's making that point. That dhyayato vishayan punsa, the one whose focus is only on objects of senses, what happens? That attachment, sangas teshu pajayate. Sangas teshu, locative singular, locative plural, teshu, in them, sangas, that is attachment. So from that focus on the pleasures or objects of senses, attachment is born, attachment develops. Upajayate. Upajayate means to something that is born, something that arises in them, right? Because of that attachment to the senses, right? From that attachment, sanga sanjayate kama, that attachment gives rise to desires. Same Kam word that gives us Kama Sutra, or Kama is desire, right? So from focus on pleasures or attachment, from focus on pleasures it develops attachment, from attachment develops desires, sangat, sanjayate, again another word for born or arising. Upajayate, now sanjayate, kamaha. Then kamat krodho vijayate. From desires, anger develops. So 3 different versions of birth or development we see in the same verse. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangasteshu pajayate sanga sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate. So 3 times. Upajayate, sanjayate, abhijayate. Same root, born, janm. Even the word janm in Hindi comes from the same root. So abhijayate, upajayate, sanjayate means that which develops, that which is born. What is born? From focus develops attachment, from attachment develops desires, from desire develops anger. Why? Because all desires will never be fulfilled. There will always be, probably 90% of our desires are always unfulfilled. That develops anger in us. So that is a very rational development of anger that Krishna is describing. So that was 62nd, 63rd verse now. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhranshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. Same chain of action and reaction, chain reaction in a way, right? So same thing. Now anger has developed because the desires are not fulfilled, as we saw in the previous verse. From anger, what happens? From anger, one develops delusion. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. That kind of a delusion that, anger and then desire, it's kind of a chain reaction. So anger keeps developing more and more delusion. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. From delusion develops loss of memory or wandering of memory rather. Memory is always disturbed. Your thoughts are disturbed, your memory is disturbed. Smriti bhranshat buddhinasho. If memory is gone, if memory is wandering, buddhinasho, your intelligence perishes, your intellect perishes. Right? Buddhinashat pranashyati. If intellect is gone, if intelligence is gone, the entire person perishes. So to complete 63rd verse, from anger arises delusion, from delusion loss of the memory, from loss of the memory destruction of discrimination, from destruction of discrimination one is lost. The entire personhood is lost. Now 64th verse. Raga dvesha viyuktastu vishayan indrehi charan Atma vashair vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Now the difference. How the solution? Solution to achieve prasad. Prasad means the ultimate peace, balance, sthit pragya, that balanced mind, that stable mind. Prasadam. Prasad comes from ultimate tranquility, ultimate self-restraint. So prasadam adhigacchati. One who goes and attains that tranquility, peace. How does one attain that? So 64th verse has the answer. Rag dvesha viyuktastu. One who is viyukt, not yukt. So yukt we saw in previous verse. Now viyukt. Viyukt means one who is detached from rag and dvesh. Attachment, that is attachment, and also some kind of a hatred, dvesh, rag, dvesh. If one is beyond rag and dvesh, if one is detached from rag and from dvesh, Vishayan Indraihi Charan, and his senses are not attached to the senses of objects, that pleasures and so on. Atma Vashyehi, one who is in control in one's soul. Vidheyatma, that person becomes guided by his own soul, his or her soul, only soul. Then one can attain the ultimate pleasure, ultimate tranquility, ultimate peace. Away from rag and dvesh, self-controlled person can attain the ultimate tranquility. So to complete 64th verse, with the elimination of desire and hatred, even though moving among the objects of the senses, he who is controlled by the self with a capital S, right, the soul, by self-restraint attains tranquility. So that completes our 4 verses, and we'll continue next week.